can we remove it? So it really gets very tricky because you're explaining a lot of stuff that's probably written down that you can only do it this way to people who probably don't understand it as much. So from that perspective, I think me being a non-CA, where I have understood why it's sitting there, probably sometimes helps. I'm able to better explain it to founders, promoters, as to why something looks and feels that particular way. So, yeah, that's
Awesome.
my.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharda. Milan, just coming to you. Uh, you've been on the profession side, which is, so we finished our CA, question, are you going to be in the industry? Are you going to go and, be with the firm, which you had, done your articleship? Uh, you've been on the other side, which is we joined the industry for whatever reason. How have you seen the role of a CFO change over the last 15 years? You've been on the other side, you've been looking from outside. If you can share some thoughts in terms of how you've seen that change.
It's a really a good question, taking me back to maybe beginning of my career about 30 years back. So instead of 15 years, I'll go back to 30 years where CFOs, please don't take it otherwise, but those CFOs, they were just some extension of clerks, right? So it used to be a team of clerks, and CFO was the head of that team. So nothing to go beyond a particular financial aspects, debits, credits, provisions, fights with statutory audits on petty things. Pettier the issue, more the fights, kind of. From there, I have seen CFOs transforming more on the risk management part of it. Earlier, they were knowing that what their company's product is, who are the customers, who are the suppliers, what is the raw material, but they were not getting into the nitty gritties. Now I see in most of the companies, whatsoever small or big it is, they are at the helm of the controlling situations next to CEOs. In fact, I am seeing that young CFOs in due course of time, they are becoming the CEOs. Of course, someone like Sriram is the pioneer that becoming MD. But otherwise, a chartered accountant becoming MD was very rare in early 90s or late 80s. Now you can see that chartered accountants, and particularly who started their careers as CFOs in small companies, later on went on growing companies like Raghav did, and then at a particular stage, now like him, now he is a co-founder, right? He's a CFO and he's a co-founder. So people understand that chartered accountants, CFOs, they understand much beyond debits and credits, and that is a big transition I see over a period of next last 20, 30 years.
And why do you think this has happened? Why is it that our people got a lot more sense, business acumen now? The CFOs, do they understand the business better than they used to in the past? What has changed for them?
I would say that earlier it was really somebody had made those compartments, that if it is production, it used to be engineer. If it is debit credit, it is you. Don't look into his area. He will not interfere, right? He will never understand that what is the importance of settling 1,000 rupees advance in time before the year end, kind of.
Okay.
Some of them are maybe facing even today. But yeah, those were the compartmentalization. Perhaps for maybe from control perspective, it was kept.
Yeah.
But over a period of time, typically when the ERPs came in a big way,
Yeah.
and lot many entries were not passed by the accountants,
Yeah.
but the CFO was responsible for the results.
Yeah.
That is where it made them mandatory, or it was forced on them that they should know the entire paraphernalia of a particular organization.
Yeah.
So I would say that coming in those ERPs,
Yeah.
likes of SAPs and Oracles, that could be the starting point where the role of CFO has really changed in a bigger way, more towards as a operational head rather than a functional head.
Yeah, I agree, and I think people who are come from the time when the Enron happened and the Sarbanes-Oxley came, the CEO, the CFO certification started happening. Even the capital markets today expect the CEO and the CFO, to kind of sign off on the numbers. So you've got to know your business. So this is a takeaway that we need to, as chartered accountants, as finance professionals, understand the business. It's not like this is somebody else's problem. This has to be, and that's the career journey that you may want to think about. That I need to now get under the skin of the business, understand this business better. This is my takeaway from what Miran said. No pressure, Raghav. You're not going to be, replacing Vineet soon, but you know, but no. But CFOs becoming CEO is definitely picking a lot of traction. So Satya, coming to you. Satya is the guy where I'm here today because he said you should come for this event. Satya, he's been part of Tally. I don't know if does anybody not know Tally here?
Impossible.
Yeah.
Anyone? No, chartered accountants. I mean,
So it's
that.
like Excel and Microsoft and Tally for India. They kind of go hand in hand. It's like yeah. Did you audit Tally? And was he the auditee?
I have done that.
Okay. Let's not talk about our ages. Yeah. So Satya, I think you've transitioned from being a corporate CFO and you've seen the Tally journey, and maybe you can show a little bit of share a bit of a light in terms of your journey at Tally, what role as a CFO you played, in making Tally such a household name that it is today, and maybe if you can share something on that. And the second is also you've transitioned to, being part of, running your own company. I somewhere sense, there is a lot of focus that you have on the MSME sector. How do you see that sector becoming the belly of India, which is, going to drive the growth? If you can share some, thoughts on that.
Sure. Thanks, Chantal, for having me, and thanks for the question, Karan. Um, as a background, I think this entire mindset to do something on my own was always there. Um, Good 10 years with AOL, where Sriram and I worked. And when they decided to move back and they wanted me back in the US, at that time itself, I was a little wary about, do I need to go back to the US and start all over again? Which is when I decided this was not my first jump into entrepreneurship kind of a thing. I did a startup. I joined hands with two big names, Shekhar Kapoor and A.R. Rahman. We can talk about it later. But yes, I mean that's what people come. They come and tell, "Oh, you worked with A.R. Rahman." He's another guy, boss. Don't worry about it. They don't understand accounting, so I can. I am better than him, kind of a thing. So
that's an interesting insight. Work with people who don't understand accounting.
Yeah, that's so. So I did that, and then I did not ever want to go back to corporate. For some reason, I was very. Um, I did not like processes. I did not like things being done in one way, right? I mean, we are taught to do that, but for some reason, I was never that. Which is when I said that okay, I'm not going to do this. And a friend of mine pushed me hard in telling that why don't you go meet Bharat Goenka? He's a good friend of mine. He's looking for a CFO. I said, when he said that I'm looking for a CFO, I said, I'm not going to meet him. Okay. But I want to meet this person because he's made all our lives so simple. So, a meeting which was scheduled for about 1.5 hours went on for about 6 hours. We went, we discussed everything. His whole thing about why he started Tally, what is he doing, why is he doing with the way it is, and things like that. And he ended up convincing me to join him as a CFO. So I said that I'm not going to do a CFO role alone. I also want to understand how you sell software. So I want to do a sales role as well. So I also manage international sales for Tally, which is when you understand how do you sell software like apples and oranges, right? I mean that's the whole thing about Tally. I mean, if you look at a product company, I would say that's a pure product company because you can actually go to a shop, buy a software, and walk out, right? So, I mean, the entire TCS case and everything, all that, whether it's a product or a service, all those things are there. But that's one company which actually thinks product. And the only thing, actually, I mean, what is product, right? I mean, all of us look at X or Y or Z. Yes, SAP is there, X is there, Oracle is there, XYZ, but there was only one metric in that company that was tracked. Okay, how much time does a sales guy go into go for selling a software and come out? If it is anything more than 30 minutes without coming out with a check, then there's something wrong with my product. In 30 minutes, you have to make a sale come out with the cash, right? I mean, that's the kind of, I mean, which meant you need to go move his transition his entire thing from whatever software he had into Tally, and then walk out with a check, right? So I mean, the way the company thinks is very, very, very different, very different. In fact, after 2 weeks after joining, all the CXOs, they addressed the entire company and things like that, and I said that, look, we are 700 people in this room right now. If Bharat Goenka decides to fire 695 of them, the revenue won't move by an inch, right? That is what a product company actually should do, right? I mean, there were partners, 25,000 partners across the country who were selling the software. So you did not need to do anything. The software that is even running today is 30-year-old code. Actually, it is a 30-year-old code, single-handedly written by one person. There's only a little bit of jing bang that happens, but then that's the way the company was built. Selling was beautiful, actually. I mean, the partners used to revere you like as though it's like you're the god, right? I mean, you want, and probably a company which actually takes care of its employees like really, really well. The average tenure in that company was 20 years. 20 years, right? It's a software company. You hire IITs, IIMs, everyone you hire, but then 20 years people stayed there. So it's a wonderful this one. So that's where my whole thing towards MSMEs, small size companies. I mean, you get to meet a lot of companies. As an entrepreneur, that man on a Friday, second half, always used to go and sit in a customer's place, right? I mean, that's the focus he used to give, because he used to, the way they think about, if they have to build a product, they'll think from grounds up. They'll think about, what does this customer do, how does his entire thing work, right? I mean, he, when he closes his shutter, he counts his money and he decides, how much should I declare, how much should I not declare. I mean, that's what the small companies do, and that's where it starts from, right? I mean, every day, half a day he spends on the product, right? So anyway, that's about Tally. But very, very interesting journey. The company had just two chartered accountants, me and there was another guy. We used to manage 1,000 crores. Everything was done on Tally, and the beauty about that, in Tally, was you cannot have any customization, because the whole thing was, if a customer can't get a customization, why should you as Tally have it, right? So we used to struggle sometimes, because there are a lot of things, right? I mean, a 1,000 crore company is a 1,000 crore company. I mean, it has its own problems. So it was a wonderful journey. That's where I learned about what MSMEs need, what they where they lack and things like that. That's when I started this journey of, after quitting Tally, starting to help mid-sized companies. So
Thank you, thank you. This is very interesting, right? The Tally journey. But put his hand up for, I'm the CFO, I'll do something else. I think that's something, another lesson in leadership, that, while we are finance professionals, we should, think about, maybe pick up something else, and it's okay to go out of finance and then come back to finance. I've seen a lot of, global CFOs actually spend time out of finance and then come back and, take the CFO role. So I think it actually helps, a lot. So thanks, Satya, for sharing that. Dipanjan, coming to you. You're in the center of the stage, for the right reasons. How's your golf going? What's the handicap?
You'll soon find out.
So we are golfing partners. We haven't played yet. We bump into each other at the golf course. I know he plays very well, and I just want to get the handicap so I can get the strokes from him. But coming to the formal part of the discussion, I think you've had a journey from Wipro to Myntra to now, the GP for a fund. So think about Dipanjan in Wipro, Dipanjan in Myntra, and Dipanjan now in Fireside Ventures. What has stayed consistent, and what has changed for you as a finance professional?
I don't know. I think I have many different examples to share this, and but I would start by saying nothing was planned. I think one thing which is consistent is that when I joined Wipro, as Raghav mentioned, Wipro was a startup IT services. When I joined Flipkart, it was a very unknown entity. When I joined VC, it was also immature. So at all stages, my parents were always worried, saying, "This is a guy who has not done well." And that's a good benchmark for me to say that if your parents are not able to understand what you're doing, then maybe you're futuristic, possibly, right? So that is one thing which is considered. I don't think my father still knows what exactly I do. And Wipro, that time it was a very huge disappointment, saying, you're not got in ONGC or ITC or Unilever, and if not anything, at least get PwC, KPMG. Wipro is like really the bottom of the rank choice. Actually, it was partly IT, and I think the only savior was, I think, that year when I joined Wipro 2002. I think Mr. Premji became the richest man or something for a few days because of the stock prices. So that was the only potential savior to say, I don't know what it is, but it's something. Yeah, but I think the light side apart, I think I would say it's a very lucky journey. When I joined Wipro, I was very lucky to work with outstanding finance leaders, including Raghav. I had the opportunity to work with Raghav very closely, and it was a very entrepreneurial, business first finance team led by Mr. Senapati, who was the CFO at that time. But the history of finance in Wipro was actually a lot influenced by G. Also, I'm assuming a lot of ex-G leaders in Wipro, and there was, and correct me if I'm not wrong, Raghav, in G, there's a kind of a process where after a certain leadership, you're very agnostic of the function, right? So the CFO can be from an HR background, or HR head can be from a sales background. So I think, if not in that sense, but Wipro had that culture saying, everybody is a leader, everybody is a business leader. Then doesn't matter whether you are in finance or HR or sales or marketing and so on and so forth. So I think that view was quite early, and that taught us really to go business first, and not function first. I think that was the DNA of Wipro was. And somewhere in the journey, I figured out that I'm not really a strong finance guy. I think, I remember, remember a lot of lot of the feedback is to get is that you're a smart guy, which means that you are not really a technically smart guy.
It's a nice way to put it.
So
You don't know your accounting standards.
right. So and Wipro used to do very complex transactions, and we had like people I've interacted, like when I look at them, like A Satish or PB Srinivasan, and he said, man, they're like so deep experts, and I was nowhere close to that. So I quickly figured out that's not really, I'm not going to succeed in my career by remaining a finance guy. And Wipro was a good learning ground, and I had an opportunity to work with TK, who was actually an ex-finance guy. He was then the CEO, and so I actually moved into a business role in Wipro when digital was created, and that was really the journey outside of finance. Then I joined Flipkart, which was a very weird move, because that was a year and when, if you read any newspaper in 2015, 2016, you'll hear how many ED raids have happened on Sachin and Bini, how e-commerce is actually a bogus business model, and this is some guys doing some fraud, and
This
and
is 2016?
2020, yeah, 2015, 2016, I think.
You don't know what happened in 2012 when I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll talk about this.
Right, that's a
It's panel
separate
discussion for that.
correct. So that was, again, while Flipkart was not really a startup, it was already, Myntra, of course, was acquired by Flipkart at that point of time. So I think
Joined when Flipkart had already taken over Myntra?
acquired Myntra, and I think Mukesh had just moved to Flipkart, and
He's
then
taken a bigger role in Flipkart, and Anand was
correct.
the CEO.
And that was the journey of consumer internet at that point of time. Very high growth, but while it was a finance role, but it was actually more of a business role. So that was a interesting learning from seeing a high growth stage. And of course, actually Satya, myself, and like 4-5 other folks, we started IPV during that period when we were at those days, and that was really the lead to investing. I met Kaval, who started Fireside Ventures in 2017, roundabout when we were doing IPV, and the Walmart deal has just got finalized. So it was pure luck. So I would say what has remained consistent is that still a lot of people don't know what exactly I do, but more importantly, I think finding out that I was not what I'm not strong at, and moving out at the right time. So I would have been a terrible CFO if I would have stuck on, and that was
Well, one very humble, I think, and as you can see from him. But I think one of the things that you saw from him, what he spoke about was the business. He always was interested in the side of the business. I think for for CFOs to be successful, you need to kind of get closer to the business, and I think take opportunities with business like he's done in Wipro, even at Mintra.
I think a lot of Wipro leaders, I think business finance was a very strong function,
Yeah,
right? It was
it's
a
strong.
very, very strong function.
I mean, he said that we are very business focused, very driven in understanding what's happening on the front lines.
I think Wipro is going to get a lot of traffic hitting the website after this discussion.
Given well, I'm not
Wipro
sure,
spoken
but
about.
yeah, a lot of
But that's great.
yeah, that's a lot of very early. So he's right. Even G is like that. So I think you made a mention about finance guys moving to CEO roles. In G, at least 50% of the business leaders were all ex CFOs of the business. So it just as a orientation, a lot of people moved there.
Thank you, Dipanjan. Anuj, coming to you. Sorry, last but not the least, I don't know much about you, so maybe I've seen that you've worked in the Middle East a lot.
I did.
In Kuwait, and then you moved to India. So maybe some of the people who are listening to this, they're sitting in the Middle East and people want to come back to India. How did you transition from something that you're doing, which is finance oriented in the Middle East, and then you landed a big job in India as a CFO?
A small correction. Again, it was not. Again, it was very well what Dipanshu has been saying. It was actually I was in Middle East, but it was being a global role
As a global
with strong business overview overlap. So yes, it was finance. Actually, somehow I was always anti-finance when I started my career after being CA. Somehow I made a point that I will never join a finance and account. Sorry, my apologies for that. Unfortunately, destiny pushed me. Someone was saying, "What is your career goal?" It will be CIO, it will be CEO, but it was never CFO. And here I am. So um, in Middle East, you are never far from India. Somehow, if you see Dubai is kind of a lot of people who have visited there. It is just a more polished version of Mumbai, if you may say, right? So you're never far from India.
It's got the money.
India's got the money. Dubai's money is just reflected. It's like a moon, right? So a lot of things were happening in India.
Sure.
Also, something was happening in my personal life. Couple of my childhood friends, they've done their first or second stints, and there was an itch, right? Mid-year life itch that let's do something. So once we all sat together and said, let's do something. And at that time, again, I would say if we look back, it looks like that, something we very planned, we look at the trends and all, but just so happened. But at that time, India was becoming a story. Sustainability was a story. Electric vehicles were becoming a story. So looking back, yes, it was very fortuitous, but at that time when I took the plunge, it was just, close my eyes, didn't think much, just took a plunge.
So did you move to India and then look for a role, or did you have the role when you moved?
No, I had a role.
You had a role when you
Yeah,
moved
actually, I was part of. So
And is Yulu the friends you're talking about? Or
yeah, it is Yulu.
Okay, so that's the group that you're talking about.
That's a group.
So tell me something about Yulu. I think now I'm going to go around back a
Yeah.
bit and just close the other set of questions. So pivots. And I don't know how many pivots you've done at Yulu. What you started, where you are today, and where you think is going to be the steady state. And so obviously everybody wants to get the business to a profitable revenue business, and I'm sure you guys are. Or if you're not there already, you're trending to that. What is the role of a CFO when companies pivot? If you can,
So one good part with Yulu has been that we had a very strong conviction on where we were. Though we started, I would say, if you look externally, it will seem like there has been some changes in the business. I don't know how many people are aware of. We started with a pedal cycle. Pedal cycle was a micro mobility globally. If you know, at that time, OFO, Hello Bikes, and all they were. We started with that. But what we understood, maybe those things will work with a more ambient conditions and climates. India is not a very pedal friendly country, so you will need something which is powered. What could be that? So one of the things which we started was pollution. City pollution was something which we were always very passionate about. So electric mobility was something which came very natural to that. So from bicycles, we moved to electric mobility. Second, you can say segmentation. Again, it was not a pivot. It happened during COVID time. So initially, we started as a people mobility company where the bikes were made. So in India, one of the most people who have used public transportation, or if anyone has seen, used auto rickshaws, or try to cover the last mile, they would have experienced that you pay most and your user experience is worst in that part. So we thought, let's do something about it. So that is where we brought something which is just covering that last mile and near mile use cases. During COVID, what happened when people stopped moving? Everybody went home, right? Work from home, everything started. Our bikes were sitting idle for 1 month. We had zero revenue. Then slowly we started seeing that actually our bikes were getting used, and we said, "Who is using us? We are sitting at home. Who is using us?" Then we found out there were delivery guys out there who were actually using it. And one good
Was
part.
that a discovery or was that a thought through process that the
No.
delivery guys will latch on to this?
I would love to say it was a thought through, but it was not.
Come on, you should have taken the credit.
So yeah, but
Yeah,
that
that's
is how
right,
things happen. So we saw. So what we discovered actually, when people were not moving, goods were moving. So e-commerce actually just went off the roof, and with that we found that our bikes were getting used. So we decided, initially we were little reluctant, because again, please don't think we are very classist or something like this. But we wanted that our bikes to be used for the people mobility, white collar workers, students, and all. So that is the image we were building, right? Yulu as a fun, new age, fun mobility. Then we decided, why not? Because we understood those guys needed mobility, and there was very strong felt need there because of what our demography is like. So then we said, okay, since we are there, so let's do something good about it. So we developed, and we brought out a product which was meant for delivery. It's a gray color bike with a carrier, more comfortable for them.
Did you
Pricing
have to do
was
some numbers to kind of put the business case together, or is this like somebody's marketing guy's idea and then let's go and test it out?
no, it was not. We did our numbers. We did see our numbers, and it was the numbers were actually already happening.
So you had some data. To kind
So
of
we already had a data. Then there were a good part was, so India, the founder is, so most of the founders chat with each other. So there was a discussion around, so from Zomato, Swiggy's, and all those were, there was like, can you do something about it? So, okay, then we said, why not?
Yeah, well, thanks, Anush. So look for data. I think this is another one,
Yeah.
So while pivoting, while looking at new business models or looking to launch a new initiative, there will be some data within the system which will help us, think about how do we kind of put a ROI or a business case together. So I'm just taking away that insight. I know you didn't say it, but
No.
I'm
No,
kind
please.
of extending that argument for that.
No, certainly. No, you have to have your ears to the ground. You have to listen to the data, be very agnostic and very, very dispassionate about when you look, because you will have your biases. You will try to see, for example, when we were looking at, we had our biases, we wanted it to be people mobility, but ground was telling us something very different. And we had to respond to it. So, yeah.
Good. Dipanjan, I have a quick question for you. As you work with a lot of startup companies, pre-Series A, Series A kind of thing, what's a good time to hire a CFO? And with this new trend about the fractional CFOs, do you think it's a good idea or bad idea?
No, I think this is a big bite space, and because the reason is that what happens is when you're successful in a finance career, you don't want to move to a smaller company, right? Because risk and all that. So actually, we find a big gap in high quality finance talent in early stage companies. So and to be fair, I think leaving a large role, coming to a smaller company with a lot of uncertainties is a tough one. So I think the fractional CFO, and I think Satya works closely with many firms. I think it's a big opportunity.
So as an investor, do you feel more credible if there is a seasoned CFO or a finance professional, even on a part-time basis?
Yeah. So in
Does
fact,
that give you guys as investors confidence?
yeah, it gives tremendous amount of confidence, because what happens is that the experience, so CFOs who have seen scale, who have seen processes, who have seen established company going a certain journey, their ability to guide young founders, in setting the building blocks right. I think that's a big help. So we are actually starting to see good examples of very, very good senior CFOs who are working with 2-3 startups, right? But like not fractional, as in not one day a week or something, but meaningfully playing the CFO role, if not for one company, maybe 2-3 companies, and then if somebody scales up, then they may become permanent. I think that's a very, very critical. So we look for that at a pre-Series A, Series A. But by the time you get to a Series B, you need to have a very senior person, and that's when you'll put it.
Yeah, so another takeaway here, guys. So if you think about careers, part-time CFOs is becoming and gaining ground as the startup ecosystem evolves. This is an opportunity that you want to keep in mind from a career point of view. Milind, in terms of the services that as a professional firm, what you offer, so while you talk about risk assurance, but I see like not the due diligences, the transaction services. So when people think about careers in professional services firms, what are the new options that are available for, finance professionals? If you can,
Oh, nice question. A lot of new opportunities are coming up, no doubt. The entire, I would say, accounting industry as a whole is transitioning from traditional accounting more towards controlling aspects. Uh, all these days, this was the only profession where there was no super specialization. But now, the new generation, they are coming up with super specializations. So earlier it used to be one sole proprietor, and it used to be one stop shop for anything and everything, including settling the family matters at times. But nowadays, if you see the new generation coming up, they are coming with specific specialization, that I want to be in direct taxes, I want to be risk management, I want to be in ESG, right? And that is where I would say that around beginning of the career, when you are into 0 to 3 years of your post qualification career, you should really look back yourself and figure out what exactly you are liking.
passionate about?
Yes. Now, otherwise, people used to do. Now, when I started practice after completing CA, I never liked taxation, but I was
I still don't like
forced.
taxation, but that's
You, but I was forced to do that because yes, finally I had to earn money. So I had, but whenever I got the choice, I shifted, I specialized, and that is where these young generation, next gen, they have the choice right from the beginning. So 0 to 3 years, well, they can definitely experiment jumping here and there, and in 3 years they should be really knowing themselves that where exactly they want to go. Now, unlike Anuj, not everybody gets driven by destiny to a good conclusion, but you can definitely decide and start working on that, and there are a lot of opportunities are now available. Finance professionals, they are required in every single thing. Let it be IT, let it be engineering, let it be research. Even research, when it comes to typically the startups, you need a finance profession who actually helps in controlling the technocrat promoters or owners of those startup who are technology obsessed. They are so obsessed that they think the moment my product is ready, there will be at least 300 meters line out of my office to buy that product. People will run for it. And then if you ask them who are your potential customers, they will talk about Tata Motors and JCBs and John Deere's. Are they really coming and standing in the queue? But yes, they are obsessed, and then they need someone like the CFO. You ask the same question to Deepanjan. Yes, CFO is required because perhaps as a chartered accountant, I'm sorry ma'am, but as a chartered accountant, we are really balanced at times in understanding the situation, and at times we have courage to say that, sir, this is the way we need to go. And this young generation, if they choose that way, scope is umpteen.
So look for professional services. They have multiple lines. You can think about as well as transaction advisory, business insurance, IT consulting. So like Milind said, so that's another way to kind of think about how you want to progress your career. Even if you want to upskill, these are great opportunities. Sharda, coming to you. Yeah, please.
Just as one factor, it may look like destiny. I made my share of mistakes. It is fourth time lucky. So you have to experiment and take risk.
No, absolutely. We've all made mistakes, so that's not what we will talk about. So coming to Sharda, I have a question for you, and we'll keep the answers brief. You want to open it up for the forum here. Public markets versus private markets. You've been a VC held companies, and now you're capital markets and investors. What did you have to do to kind of change in terms of narrative or ways of working, or how you kind of respond to the investor community?
think listed companies are less forgiving. As a listed company, when you are facing public markets, right, it's less forgiving. I probably would not be able to answer this right because the unlisted companies that I've worked with have had sovereign funds on their cap table. So, for example, it's as regulated as could be, but I think time is of essence. You could, pass an entry a little later. Here, you just can't go back in time. Whatever you do is etched in stone. So, as at 31st March, if something is outstanding, then it could lead to compounding. It could lead to multiple other things that an unlisted company you can always rectify a lot of mistakes. Here,
Well,
you
that's
can't.
the compliance part of it. And
Right.
I don't think Dipanjan's happy to hear that because he expects his companies to be like a listed company. But
No,
in
I
terms of
told
doing-
him. So I've worked with sovereign funds where unlisted companies with private equity or VC funding, I think they're far more regulated. They're very close to a listed company.
But the investor relation part of the conversation, when you have to deal with public markets, the analysts versus you have to deal with the analyst of a fund, how does that, narrative or the conversation change?
It's quite the opposite. Private equity funds, VC funds of unlisted companies are far more unforgiving. Very difficult to sit across the table and explain to them. Here, it's all anonymous. You talk to analysts, you're done with it. Nobody is at your doorstep asking you to clean stuff up. Absolutely. And you have a relationship with them. You also have a long lasting relationship with them. Here, the person may sell and move away. So I think it's quite the opposite here.
Well, I think Dipinder, the Zomato CEO founder, he kind of said, I'm happy to be a public listed company. I don't know to get bothered about, why did the sale not happen on this weekend? This was holy, yeah. People are not buying food or something. Otherwise, they're only buying gujiyas. So he said, I don't know to answer those silly questions.
Not only that, they will advise you on how you should have recognized revenue. Everything they will have, and they would have intelligent chartered accountants sitting. They would want to be the CFO, the CEO, and everything there.
There you go. All right, thank you so much. So, Shraddha, coming to you, I think one of the things that we've learned from you is networking. So, finance professionals, and there's a bit of a bias about, they always sit at the back, they don't come in the front. You put your hand up to do the international sales. What's your advice to the young people over here? How do they think about networking? Because a lot of the career choices you make or a lot of the opportunities that you get is from networking. I mean, the reason I'm here is because you network with me and so on and so on. I see you as a big proponent of the networking side of the business. So please share some thoughts on networking as an idea.
So I think that's something I learned in the startup I did as well as in Tally, right? I think when you have 25,000 partners across the world and you need to make sure your sales are hitting. I mean, you're hitting the numbers that you want them to. It's important you go meet them. It's important you go meet a customer. Similarly, it's important that you're well connected in your own network, right? I mean, I saw that a little bit when we did IPV, right? I mean, there is this group of CFOs, which there's a guy called Vinay who's running it. I think many of us are a part of that here. So, I mean, the way he ran it, he charged for it, right? I mean, he charges like crazy for it. I was like, boss, this is what it is. So, yeah, we're not used to paying. We're used to collecting money all the time. So I thought that's important. I think all of you should kind of open up as much as possible back to your college days, XYZ. You will find something or the other that will actually spring a surprise or help you in your career to go forward. I think it's one of the most underrated thing, but it's, I think, extremely important. As finance guys, we are always in the back seat, like Karan said. We are always in the shell. But I think if you want to make it a little bigger, if you want I mean, typically in any organization, the sales guys, they they come and screw you, right? I mean, because for everything they have a reason. You ask them a question, they have a reason, right? I mean, like you said, holy sales were not happening. I mean, you were the guy who told me that sales will happen, right? I mean, but then he finds a reason for that, right? So you need to get into those circles. You need to network. You need to go meet the people. You need to break the shackles than just sit with the tax guy just trying to figure out, okay, whether it's 115 JB or JC or whatever it is, right? So it's important to know your own people.
Great, thank you. Raghav, we'll wrap it up with you, and then we'll open it up for some questions before we get, and we'll get Sriram as well. So, you got the mic. Okay. So, crystal ball gazing. Where do you see the finance, community headed? Keywords I'm going to throw at you as AI, ESG. Somebody mentioned, the is it AI is just a better word of automation because we've lived through the automation journey. Why are we getting freaked out with AI now? And your thoughts on that?
My personal view is the impact of AI will be profound in a decade
On the finance community.
on the finance community and in life in general. I think there are two things because of that, which I see as a trend. One is the technology itself is changing every 6 months. So it's kind of, it's going at a geometric progression.
Yeah.
And therefore, more and more use cases are being developed at a real fast pace, right?
Correct.
That's number one. And number two, when AI basically hits with the domain, uh, I think many things which we do today, uh, it will change the way how we operate in the future, right? And it will happen across industries. It will take its time, but it will actually start to seep into everything, fundamentally, which we kind of do. I think the takeaway from a finance community standpoint is really one or two. One is I kind of go back to this uh, the thing which we have been speaking about is you should start with the business. I think a lot of what we do in finance will start to get standardized and simplified. I mean, in terms of processes. Uh, it's clearly, I mean, I can clearly see it. It's just going to continue to kind of happen, right? So you must stand with the business. The advantage I see, therefore, for somebody who understands finance, who comes from that particular background, is their ability to understand business is actually very high, because I think it's a unique USP which a finance professional brings into the table to understand return on investment, to understand what's actually kind of going on. So I think that's a strength. Now, but for that strength to really manifest itself, you need to be able to spend a lot of time on the business. So it's a very interesting time to understand finance, to be in finance, but also expect a lot of disruption in terms of whichever business you're in. I think you can expect a lot of disruption to basically kind of happen.
And one prediction is a yes and no answer. Do you see a bot running a CFO or a finance function?
I have a prediction that we will all be finally pets to machines.
Ooh.
What will
when you will any timeline?
no.
This is like a Hollywood movie, right?
No. It is, yeah. No, I think in the next 20, 30 years,
Wow.
we will clearly see a way more automation than we are basically seeing today. I mean, I got to give. Do you know which country uses the largest number of robots? China.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a crazy amount of number. And just think what China was about a decade ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they consume more than 65% of the world's robots.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. It's an interesting fact. I mean, I was just going to add to that. I think it was in Forbes or something that for companies with $1 billion and more, 60% of their finance managers use some kind of an AI tool. 60%. That's data. I mean, that's not like, cook number. So you're absolutely right. I think there is absolutely a lot of, embeddedness of, the AI tools.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know what the picture is going to be, in a couple of years or, 10 years. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I'll just add one point, which is not so much futuristic, but when I was at Myntra, except the core controllership team, which had, like, of course, there were qualified chartered accountants, etc. On the business finance side, there were actually no CAs. Actually, they were from engineering background, because a role of business finance in an e-commerce company was all around analytics and data, and there were no data at that scale which could fit in Excel, right? So you had to actually run queries and codes to even derive. And I remember during my Wipro days, everything was on Excel, and there were people who were good in Excel who could make pivot tables, right? That was the key skill set for a lot of people. To Raghav's point, even if you don't look at that future, I don't see a role for data aggregation by, it's about what insight you can make from there is the real skill, right? I mean, somebody can query the data and pull it out, but how can you actually ask the right question, ask the right query? And I think, and even in Flipkart, I'm sure the same is in the e-commerce companies. There are a lot of finance roles that actually business finance, data science
IT Delhi
roles
guys come in and running
are
it.
actually not non. I
Because
say,
Flipkart has a lot of bias for IT Delhi. As well.
yeah. That's a real thing.
So I think the takeaway. Sorry, just add to that. I think programming is that what you're saying is suggesting is we should learn programming as finance professionals. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
prompt engineering with the AI, you ask the right question, our ability to ask the right question so we can get the right answers. I think the ability to frame the question is going to be critical.
Yeah. And with Chat GPT, I think some of these are getting solved, but it is absolutely an important skill.
I think every person in my team, except me, learns coding, knows coding. In fact, I have two IT guys with me in my team already for looking at the data. So yes.
So that's another takeaway, guys. Programming, learn coding. Sorry, Shah,
So in last two companies that I worked with, I formed a business finance team that's engineers who've done their MBA from IIM or a top B school, and also sponsored them for programs to go and learn Python, and we build our own BI tool. That's very much the requirement today. Without that, I don't think a finance team can function. So it's happening, as you said already.
I think 20 years ago, I mean, maybe 20, 22, 23 years ago when I was TY, I think 25% of the risk advisory team, which we call internal audit, right, were engineers. So, in fact, my risk advisory team in my current organization is one of the guys from. He's an IIT Delhi guy. He's an NIT and IIT Delhi. So, I think the way they think is very different, and the only way we can match up to them is not just the finance side of things. Like I think everyone has been telling. I think the business side is where we can get that edge and then put this whole thing together.
Wonderful, wonderful. Chantal, I think I'm going to wrap up this panel discussion before we, I mean, from just kind of before we open up for audience, and if you can help me with any questions. But I want to just kind of thank everyone. I think we're very open and honest conversation as you would expect. So please a round of applause for the panelists. And we need to get Shriram on the stage as well. But Chantal, I'm going to hand it over to you. You tell me how you want to run the next 10-15 minutes.
We can take questions and then we can have Shriram as well.
Okay, great. So how do you? Is there questions with me on the WhatsApp, or
No,
are
I mean,
people going to put their hand up and the mic goes around?
we can just take as many questions. Like, I mean, if you want to understand the sector or anything, you can just ask questions. And we have Shriram as well. He was with Accenture, so.
Shriram, why don't you come in this
Yeah.
chair? Right, you can also, so you can address the questions to this group. Raise of hand, mic will come to you, and you can ask the question, and you can call out who the question is for. Okay, there are two people in the front here. Is there a mic?
Can we manage without a mic?
No, we have a mic. We have a mic here.
Why don't you go first?
Hi. My question is like, since virtual CFO and these part-time CFOs are pretty much evolving these things, and like, do you see like like a person who is already doing good in the MNC should shift in this kind of evolving area to learn something new, because that's something which is not available into a big MNC? And how will be the future when a person will be shifting from these virtual CFO to a regular MNC? So what's the transition opportunities in this case?
As I was saying that the opportunity is clearly there. I would say the shift shouldn't be with the perspective of shifting back, or and I think the way career movements are happening is not linear. So I think one should shift when somebody's keen in working with founders. I think the love for working with founders and the passion for helping companies, I think that should be the primary driver. It's very hard to say if you go, so it's not a career shift, right? And today I don't see many such predictable career shifts, saying small company, large company. A lot of people have asked me, okay, I'm in a large company, I'm moving into a small company. I think from what I see, I think that is really the lens which used to operate in the past. Today, I think the key thing you should ask yourself is that what exactly, how you have helped the company, have you helped him, set up the structure, have you helped him, solve a problem. And then if you are known in the industry, like today Satya is known to help founders, liberate themselves because a lot of technicality required, then you have earned your right, then you have earned your thing. And, not from a standpoint that it's a stepping stone to going back somewhere or going somewhere else.
I just like to make a point
please.
here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I've been an MNC guy all my life, right? It's very difficult from an MNC standpoint to go to what you guys are. We don't raise money. We don't work with promoters. We can talk well. Okay. Now, that's an important thing to call out. We can talk well, is what I said. And that's an important thing to call out because some of the key roles for a CFO for any of these people is raising money, working with banks, working with promoters, and putting all your parts of your body on the line every day. None of which an MNC senior finance guy does.
I actually was about to just add to that, saying before you do that, you need to upskill yourself. I totally agree with you. I've had a promoter the day before he signed the NCDs, he was like, "What is an NCD?" I'm like, "Don't ask that question in front of the investor." So it's going to be quite a challenge, right? You have to advise them why you're doing, what's an indemnification clause doing in an SHA and an SPA. They will expect all that from you. So I completely agree with you. I think upskilling would be the most important thing for you to even do that transition.
There are very few times anybody agrees with me, so thank you.
There's a sore point for me.
Yeah, hello.
I've experienced it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Karan, for a wonderful panel. So I'm an outlier here. I run a community of chief information officers, but I could, from the panel, there were a lot of resonance, like business first, keep learning, how AI will disrupt things. The question I have is on sustainability. How core is that responsibility for today's CFO and how it will be? And will ESG become a very, very core component for finance leaders? That's what I want to understand.
I can start a little bit and then I think Anuj, you can cover. Well, I think a lot of in the Western world, I think a lot of impact investors community think about sustainability as an idea, and especially when you think about investing. I got a round of funding done from Blackstone, and Blackstone is very, very particular about the kind of ESG norms for there, etc. So a lot of times it's investor led. I don't think India is yet very evolved in terms of how to think about own it kind of thing, and the space is evolving. I think it will take a lot of accounting standards are not there, how to kind of report on ESG, etc. There are SEBI is kind of regulating it, but I think the people who are you are in that space, so maybe Anuj, you can talk about it. Please take a mic.
Again, I think it is evolving. There's a lot of opportunities sitting there. Since one of your KRA as a CFO is raising funds, so as he rightly mentioned, their impact investors are around. If your company and if you can measure the metrics, you can get them audited, you can get them certified. If you adopt them day to day, money raising, the cost of funding, and probably if you have seen some reports, maybe not in 2 to 3 years, in 10 years, the companies with ESG filter have always outperformed the general index. So yes, ESG is becoming more and more on your day-to-day job. Yeah, as a CFO.
I'd like to give a counter view.
Yes, please.
So, if you take Hindustan Lever, Hindustan Lever was the first one out of the block, which basically said that they want to create a sustainable portfolio of products. The last chairman got sacked, and we got a new activist investor in the board, and they've got a new saying that they're actually disbanding it, because as far as sustainability is concerned, I think we should just two fundamental differences. One is sustainability as a product in an FMCG kind of a space is not, I mean, it's not one of the core propositions. I mean, sustainability can be a part, but then the FMCG from a product standpoint has to deliver on its own merit. So, we have tend to go overboard on the whole FMCG product sustainability kind of thing. From a process standpoint, absolutely. I think that will continue to kind of play how you run your operations, what you continue to kind of do. That will continue to get far more mainstream. I think the difference where we are seeing the pressure from in sustainability, for example, all our industrial customers in Europe and the US, they want us to be able to kind of demonstrate what kind of sustainability practices which we fundamentally have. So that's the big driver from companies in India. But you've seen FMCG products, and you kind of see
So, I think we as a fund have a philosophy on what we call as value of good, which is ESG is one part of it. So, what we have tried to do, because we invest in consumer companies, and I think this is by design more carbon generating companies. So, we have kind of broken the whole philosophy of ESG or value of good, as we call it, into two parts, where there's a planet part and there's a people process governance part. I think the planet part is a tougher one, where not all companies have, like we have invested in a fashion company, which is fast fashion, which is technically a very high carbon footprint generating company. So the view, at least in the context of India, is really nuanced, that it's unfair to put a cost of sustainability today at a time when we are growing, versus Europe and US, which is kind of, destroyed the world with leather and all of that. But I think we see Indian companies far more responsible. I mean, not because of investors or anything else. I think that's the positive part. We are seeing founders who are saying, look, let me try my best to the extent I can and is possible. For example, can I use plastic which is recyclable, biodegradable, only if I can have the brand also enhanced by it, right? Can I be more friendly with people practices? Can I be more transparent with supplier practices? I think one of the things learning from the Walmart Flipkart transaction was that Walmart, of course, is a very SEC driven, SEC led company, and FCPA rules requires a lot of supplier transparency, which suppliers of Flipkart, Myntra, etc. didn't have, and we had to change it overnight. So those are some of the good things which, if we are seeing early stage companies start to do. So there is a awareness with knowing that some things are possible, some things are not possible. So as a fund, what we do is we create a roadmap of creating. We are not even saying it is ESG because we are an investor. Not that our LPs are not asking that from us. Right? We are doing it our own, saying, can we create a roadmap of responsible practices? Can you build responsible businesses? What it means for each company is very different, right? But have that as a core philosophy. Otherwise, very soon there could be a time where some regulation may come, or the Gen Zs today are asking that. The consumer of tomorrow is going to ask for you. And if you have to be relevant for a longer period of time, if you don't start thinking of this today, you may soon get disrupt. So I think a little bit counterpoint to Raghav is that maybe the Gen Z consumer may say that, hey, is Unilever or Wipro the right company for me to buy? Because they may ask that question, and they will surely ask that question.
Hey,
Why don't we cover about CA firms? Like, what opportunity do they have in consulting for climate, ESG, and such?
Somebody, I think Satya mentioned that 20 years back, Big Fours, they had engineers and other technical experts as part of their internal audit teams. And that is what really CA firms need to look. We as Kirtana and Pandit chartered accountants, traditional chartered accountants, but yes, we are having Kirtana and Pandit consulting, where we are onboarding other experts, which is otherwise not allowed in our CA firms, to take them as the stakeholders. So when all the technical experts are there and all the synergies they are coming together, we as a firm, originally form as a firm of chartered accountants, we can do much better in this particular space. That is the reason our recent addition in our KP group is KP Climate Consulting, where all the leaders, they are non-charters. It is part of our group, but all the leaders, they are non-charters. And that is where we all as a chartered accountant should look at. One side of the coin, which we discussed about half an hour, that chartered accountants can be good CEOs. This is the extension. If you have got the opportunity, you know how the consulting is to be done, then onboard good technocrats, good experts who are not from your field, they are experts in their respective fields. Bring all synergies together, and yes, get into that consulting. Most importantly, all of us, whether in industry or in practice, we are always connected to the top management, and it is easier for us to get into that particular mode to convince and talk to them and make them understand the need of this ESG implementation. It is good for us. This is the starting point. And well, if you have to see our next generations doing good, it is necessary for all of us that we get into this ESG stuff. There will be a lot of hiccups, there will be a lot of learnings, there will be a lot of improvements. Of course, everything will improve, but yes, at some point in time, as a firm of chartered accountants, we need to bring this synergy, and that is what we are doing in our latest company, that is KP Climate Consulting.
Great. I think just to wrap it up, I think you should look for BRSR reporting, look at SEBI. There is an assurance side of the, sustainability. There's a rating side of it. It's a developing area, like what Dipanjan said. You've got to pick a sector. If ESG is a sector you want to put from a career point of view, there is a lot of stuff that will evolve in that. So do some R&D on that. I think it's a great opportunity to look for.
Sure.
You have, and then we have a couple of people at the back as well. Sorry. So can somebody take the mic at the back after the gentleman here finishes the question?
Hey, my name is Saurabh. I'm the founder of Simplifin. We are building a B2B SaaS solution for the CFO stack, cash flow management, financial analytics for B2C businesses. That's a space. The question that I had around was that how do you see the CFO stack evolving over time? Where have you seen the gaps? Because I think, by the way, I haven't had the opportunity to interact with so many finance leaders at the same dais in a really, really long time. So the answers could be also specific to the size of the companies, right? That, okay, at a enterprise level, these are the opportunities we see, but at a startup level, for example, these are the opportunities we see. So what are the technology gaps from the CFO stack perspective that you have observed?
Raghav, you want to take that? I mean, just to clarify, the CFO stack you mean
is the technology solution that a CFO function in general uses, other than generally the ERPs and accounting, the other areas,
basically
gaps.
everything that happens in Excel is what you want to share.
Yeah, I did say the impact of AI need to be profound, right?
But Microsoft should be worried, right? Excel is going to go away.
So let me. Gone off this. Yeah. About 2.5 years back, I'm just going to talk about our example. We are a large enterprise. We have more than $2 billion, $2.5 billion. About 2.5 years, we started this technology roadmap for the business as a whole, but including the function. The biggest challenge we found was with 7 to 8 business verticals. Each technology which basically kind of comes into play does not address the specific business which we are in. If you're specifically talking from a you said B2C, right? B2C. Yeah, B2C. Business to consumer. Yeah, business to consumer business. I think the 2-3 fundamental challenges which we have seen is one is from a collection standpoint, I don't see still great technology which is evolving where from the consumer to how it is basically coming back to us. That is not really kind of there. when we deal with platforms, various e-com platforms, the whole sales process, we had to actually end up developing a lot on our own. From a standpoint of saying how do we sell the good, how do we track the good, the entire supply chain is something which we have fundamentally spent a lot more time on. I think specifically those two areas, we have found a big gap where we had to develop uh, internally things which was not there in the market. I'm not seeing what you guys have offered.
Is one of the definite offering for this.
Huh? I'm sorry?
Collection is definitely one of the biggest pain point I have also seen.
Yeah.
That's what we're solving for as well.
Right. These were some of the biggest pain points, specifically on the consumer B2C businesses. I don't know whether you have seen something.
Yeah, I was going to go to Sriram because at Accenture you've solved these problems with the clients. Do you have any thoughts
I
on that?
don't have anything more than what he just said. Collections, beyond that, not too much.
Got it.
That I can think of.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Can we go to a couple of gentlemen in the back here?
Yeah, hi. My name is Umakant. I am the CFO of a company called Barracks, who is into providing sustainable solutions for agriculture. Plus, I have my own consulting firm as well. I have a couple of specific questions to Mr. Deepanjan. See, as a venture, what is that you look for in a CFO? Specific point which you look for in a CFO? This is my question number one. Second is, like you said, moving out from a large MNC and coming into a startup would be risky for a finance professional or a CFO to come into a startup. So how do you think that gap can be built? Because the startup here needs a CFO service. At the same time, there may not be a talent which will come back to these people, and the affordability also may be a question. So how do you think this this gap can be bridged?
Sure. I think Shraddha mentioned it. I think this skilling change is very important because there are a lot of nuances an early stage company looks for, which necessarily is not there in large companies where some of the processes are set. So if you're somebody who wants to build, so what we look for, to your answer your first question, is that at a stage when we hire a senior finance person, is their ability to build versus ability to manage. I think that's a very core way to think about the role of a CFO. So if you are managing something in a large company, then that's not really the right profile, because then you will struggle to build something. But and it's not that in any company you don't get both. Like, I mean, to give an example, in Wipro, a lot of us learned building, as Raghav mentioned, we didn't have many processes back then, right? So if you're coming from a company who is building or who has learned building, I think we've got great finance people from Unilever. A lot of ex-Unilever people are in a lot of startups because they know how to build, let's say, a stack for inventory management in a consumer company. So I think it's really relevant to the industry can you build for that startup versus we don't need, let's say, finance managers to call it, right? It's not about managing and accounting, etc. has become a lot professional with big fours and other people helping. So it's about creating processes, helping the company scale. I think that's the key skill. That can you come set the business in motion and help the company scale? That's the very high level requirement, and people who can build are more successful in those roles.
So on the second part, how do you think this building role can happen when there is no full-time CFO? If there is like virtual CFO or a part-time CFO is being hired by a startup, so how do you think or how do you expect those people?
So a lot of people who are coming are people who want to build. I think that's the natural match. So people, who have the knack of working with the founders, understanding their pain points, like Shraddha mentioned, have a little breadth of understanding of, closing a contract, raising capital. So I think that profile of people, and plus the willingness to work with an early stage company, finding the founder pain. So if you think it is a career shift, as I mentioned, it will never work if it's a career shift, because it's not that it is a road to somewhere. It is actually a destination where you would like to spend a lot of time, and then that ability and passion together is actually what is required.
Fine, thank you.
Hi, good evening. So my question is to the entire panel. Anyone can take it. So as there is more thrust for automation and organizations aiming for leaner structures, what will be the far-reaching impact on the roles in the future? Like, will organizations cut down their? I mean, they're definitely going to cut down their cost center roles. What will be the impact on the profit center side of roles? Will they focus more on the business development side or any revenue bringing side of roles? That is the first part of the question. And second part of the question is related to it. How can finance professionals within this age group equip with the new skills, and what will be those skills?
Sure. So the way I see this evolving, and I'm very interested in what any of the folks on the panel have to say. You'll get to a point where it becomes largely plan and analyze as two aspects of finance. Plan is going to be increasingly, and I'm sure I'm going to get some virulent disagreements to what I'm saying, but plan is going to be based on what happened last year. The whole idea of starting with a plan where it's bottom up, top down, all that's going to change. I see over a period of time, how did we do last year? Make some changes to what's going to happen. And I can say in some companies that I've worked with, they think the planning process should come down from a month and a half to maybe 4 or 5 days. Because you already know what you've done, you know what the industry cycles are like, just based on that top down. So all the people who spend time on months and months of planning, they're going to find themselves without a job. Right? So that's one thing very clearly. Analyze is going to be a big part of it. And there too, at some level, analyze is becoming more table stakes. So you're not going to be a finance person that you were 1 year back or 5 years back. You're going to have to be almost like a BD person who knows finance better than the BD person. That's my take. I see the number of finance people through transformation efforts decreasing significantly. There are going to be pools of common resource where everything is going to become a common skill. And because of bringing them together, you're going to need less people.
Yeah, that's the first question. Second was, whether the focus on the automation is going to be on the revenue generation or on cost reduction. Anybody wants to share some thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the business. Fundamentally, I think automation largely today is going to continue on cost reduction. I don't think so much
There'll be bias for cost reduction.
there'll be a bias. There'll be continue to kind of bias for cost reduction unless you're in some clear technology industries where where you're looking at technology intervention for revenue generation. Fundamentally. But I do have to say this. While I say this in the same breath, I want to kind of give an example on the FMCG side of the business where there is a lot of technology intervention in terms of which beats to go to, which the salesperson is going to, what kind of products to basically kind of sell, and things like that, right? So from a function standpoint, automation will drive cost reduction out, but you have to build a lot more use cases on the revenue generation side because the change involved in I have personally found it easier to do a technology intervention in operations versus doing technology
Finding a problem
success.
statement in the cost is easier versus in the revenue side.
Yeah.
From companies we have invested, we've also invested in a lot of health tech, consumer health companies. So there's a lot of data in understanding consumer patterns, right? So like we have a company called Traya, which is in the hair health solution space, where it kind of uses a lot of data and AI to understand the unique reason for your hair fall, because that's not really consistent across different people. So it's a combination of genetic reasons, lifestyle, your body vitals. So like that, there are many such examples which are becoming important across industries. But wherever there is more consumer touch points, so the ability to understand consumer behavior, consumer psychographic, and therefore be sharper on your marketing, sharper on your personalization. Personalization is going to be the big thing. And I think I was talking to somebody from the health space this morning. So like when bioscience meets AI, that's really going to be the personalized health solution for you individually. So you know, the famous joke is that, you know, you have a cold medicine today and say this is the medicine for cold. So tomorrow it could be a cold medicine for you, right? And that's the real use of AI slash technology in the hyper personalization.
In fact, I work with a company where I'm the whatever fractional CFO, whatever. So this is a personalized cancer therapy for a guy. What they do is they take out my cancer cells if I have cancer. They treat it to fight against my own. So it's a specialized thing for each and every one, right? So it is getting there. I think tomorrow we'll hear about what kind of news I want to read in a newspaper, kind of a thing, right? It's going to come. So I think as finance guys also, probably it makes sense to figure out where you want to go, where do you want to focus, and how do you want to consume things.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Harsh. Raghav, you mentioned about a digital roadmap. I think many companies are in various stages of digital transformation. From your own experience, if you can share some of the learnings that why some of the digital transformations fail, as well as how do you continuously measure the success and maybe recalibrate, or some of the things that how do you communicate also that success of that digital transformation initiatives?
Very popular question which gets internally debated whenever we discuss the technology budget. So, number one reason for digital transformations to fail is really change management. Because depending on how far and wide you're bringing the technology intervention in the organization, if you don't have an engine which drives the change management, whether it's in the sales force, whether it's in the finance function, whether it's in the manufacturing, whether it's in operations, otherwise, you need to be able to carry the team along, and you have to work very closely with the team to be able to translate what the technology was supposed to do. So that's, I think, number one. Number two is not to get completely overwhelmed or completely excited about technologies if it's not making sense for you. Today there's a lot of shelfware which you can pick up from the market. So be very specific about what technology you want to actually kind of play with. We have, we have spent a lot of time in investing in technologies and finding out it's really, it was not really the way we wanted it to go. We would have invested in some technology and 2 years later find some other better technology which basically kind of came. So you have to make a very wise choice and a calibrated choice in terms of where you're investing in the technology. So I would say that lastly, I would say talk about your pain areas. Where do you, I think if you talk about a pain areas, you will generate a good laundry list of technology interventions. I think you get your pain area your problem statement has to be very clear. Actually, many times I've found that you start with a particular problem statement, and then when you start to peel it 4-5 times deeper, you find that the problem statement actually has changed. You start solving the problem for something, and then you end up with saying that that process itself is not required.
The why, the 5 whys.
Yeah, the 5 whys. So I think you should.
I just have one point to make on that. Very often what happens is you don't involve the people who are going to be hurt by the transformation in the decision. So you decide to do a finance transformation, but you're scared to tell the business that they're going to get less reports. Right? So what are they going to do? They're going to hire some people in the business who will do the same work that you're getting rid of, and it continues. That's where the transformation starts.
That's a key success metric. That the business is hiring people, you fail. Okay, last two questions, Shanta, and I think just running out of time, and then we can talk in the networking side, if that's okay. So the two questions, one here, if the mic can come here, please, and then the lady over here. Okay, sorry. I mean, we can do our coffee over here.
Thank you. All my life I've been an accountant. Originally from few decades ago, it used to be tax peddlers to tax pushers. then it transformed to compliance guys, then it moved on to governance. All of you sitting here in the finance, do you see from governance it also will go on to social entrepreneurship as a chartered accountancy firm?
Question for you.
Can you please be more?
Originally, we were only tax planners. Then we went into better compliances. As the profession grew, we became governance specialists. So, as it progresses as a profession, do you see ourselves as also a social entrepreneurship?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, my answer is why not? You really need to understand what exactly the things are required. See, basically, the best part of this profession in practice, to be there in practice, is people hear you. And when you are talking of all these, right from tax compliance to governance to social responsibility, if you decide that what exactly we want to get into, and also understand that what all are the needs of different segments of clientele you are handling. So on one side, you might be auditing the listed companies, on other side MNCs but who are unlisted, and then there will be a bunch of startups coming to you. Social responsibility definitions differ in every case. Not exactly differ, but the shades are different. And that is where, if you want to get into social responsibility statement, yes, we as a chartered accountants, we can definitely get into that. Only thing is, you need to define the scope and be specific.
Yeah, so the short answer is I think that after governance is I don't think that's a big leap. I think it's a big leap to kind of get to social, kind of an entrepreneurship or social responsibility. I think it will be a sliver, it will be a segment of everything that the CFO does or the companies do. I don't think it's going to be the end point. It will be a part of what responsibilities that any corporate will have to take.
Correct.
And you're aware of that, the CSR.
We need to define that.
Last question, lady over here. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful panel. So my name is Divya. I work at Deloitte in M&A advisory. I deal with a lot of startups, help them fundraising, and I also deal with a lot of corporate, folks for their M&A services. So I think my question is, I have two-fold questions actually. The first question is actually directed towards Dipanjan and Sharda. So, being a CA, I've worked in this industry for say 2 to 3 years, right? Now, say if I want to shift into a role which is more of corporate M&A or an investment profile, which you guys are into, right? How, I mean, like, I have a competition from people who are doing MBA, right? I have better technical skills. While, they're still preferring to hire people who are fresher MBAs for the same roles, right? So, I mean, like, what is the difference between the skill set of both those both sets of cohorts, right? And why do you think that people don't hire CAs for such role? First question. And I think second question is towards Sharda. I mean, like, what are the challenges that you face as a leader, like a female leader at the top, right? I just want to hear some candid feedback from your side. Thank you.
Let's start with the second question first.
I think someone else answered it. It was Twinkle Khanna. She said when she was to go out for a book launch, somebody came to her and asked, "Khane mein kya banana hai aaj?" Same Akshay was going out, nobody was asking him that. So even now, 2 minutes ago, somebody called me from my house, and my daughter says, "I don't care, do my homework." So I think the real challenge is no matter what you do, no matter where you have to be omnipresent. So that's the challenge of being a finance leader. I mean, female leaders, that you have to balance it out. I'm not saying there are hands-on dads and there are hands-on men, but still the society think it's the woman's responsibility to run the house, and you don't have anybody to lie back on. So I conveniently use a lot of help at home. Never be afraid to hire help, and don't bother about what someone says. You don't have to be the best cook, the best mom. I mean, there is guilt, but you overcome it at some point in time. Start enjoying your work more, and I think you compensate for it. That's the second question. I'll do a little bit of the first question, and probably he.
If you could just also add on, what is it that you face as a challenge or something that at work, right? Juggling is the first part that you just explained, but at work, is there any difference between a male and a female CFO? Do you have a stark difference in terms of the working culture or something like that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate enough to work in the right environments, I think. And that's the answer to your question, that choose your environment and the people that you work with wisely. Uh, but having said that, yes, there are forums when people won't look at me. I've had a 26-year-old controller who's like much younger to me, but there are people who look at him and talk and not at me. I'm assuming that's a thing of gender and, you know, but make yourself heard. When you add value, it may take time, but they will recognize you, right? So I think it's up to us to break barriers, and voicing out is the easiest way to do it. um, the worst thing that could happen is they could have a, you know, conception about you or a misconception about you. That's okay to live with. But if you don't voice yourself, then maybe you live the same way. That is not okay, right? So that's my thing. Fight for yourself. That's the easiest thing
That's
to
true.
do. The first question, I'm looking for people in my FP&A M&A team, and I can answer this with more conviction. Uh, just, think she's worked on one of our diligences. So just a disclaimer. I'm going to give a right story of the kind of candidate I'm looking at. We are an acquisition platform. We've done about 18 M&As till now in the last 1.5 years, and we're planning to do more. Um, we do not differentiate for that particular role between an MBA and a chartered accountant. But disclaimer, I don't find so many chartered accountants wanting to apply for that role as much as I get, interest from the MBAs. I don't know if it's a matter of location. I'm looking for people in Chennai, so maybe it's a location thing. So yeah, we are very neutral, and for me, M&A is just sales, right? You need to have the right communication, negotiation skills. So nobody is looking for DCF or whatever. You're just sitting there. It's like how we do in shanties, right? सात में मिलेगा, आठ में मिलेगा, आठ multiple 8.5. Indian 8.25 पे कर देते हैं, no? So there's very little science or math. It's more an art. So if you are willing to do it, I'm sure you'll find the right platforms. But in corporates, you don't find that many M&A focused roles. That's also one of the reasons. Maybe big corporates do M&As frequently, but if you look at mid-sized firms, utna fundraise or nahi hota hai. Maybe he's the right person to answer because they do a lot of deployment.
Can I just make one point? And it'll be a blunt point, but I think it'll answer your question. It comes down to storytelling skills. The average MBA does a much better job than the average CA, right? So it's not about analytic skills, but it's how you take the story, package it, and share it. And the more senior people go, they abstract to a level where you give them sound bites which are only relevant to them. As Indians and as CAs, we have a bad habit. When somebody asks a question, we want to answer the question, but we also want to tell them how much we know. The second part is not important. And this happens at all ages, right? So when we do that, we run the risk of being rendered redundant. So that's mine. Please go ahead and add to anything I have to say or disagree.
I think you.
Fireside, we have chartered accountants who are in the investing team, but very similar response. It's as an industry, it's a little biased. It's not only biased between MBAs and CAs, it is very biased towards Harvard, Wharton, IIM, IIT. So that's the reality today. Unfortunately, that is what we see. And therefore, it's a community which feeds into each other. So what has happened is over a period of time, the best of these colleges have come to the best of the funds, and then the best of the funds have come out, and so it's a community which has got created. But I see that changing. We are seeing people with different backgrounds, and very very similar to what both of them said. There is no substitute for real competence, and it is about really your insight on why you're a better investor, why you understand business better, how can you spot trends better. It is just that the likelihood of somebody from that back post or somebody who's worked in a consulting company like a McKinsey Bain is just their exposure is in a way where they can articulate this much better. So that's really the reason. But there is no inherent bias or a qualification bias. I think we have way gone past that age of just it is a CA or MBA. It's just that certain background of people are find themselves more suited.
I got that. I think that answers the first part of my question. My question was also trying to understand as to the thought process that you guys have when you were entering into your respective fields, right? Like you were a CF, like you were in the finance team of Myntra, right? How did you learn about investments and move to an investments role? Similarly, how did Sharda learn about M&A and learn about finance when she was from an engineering background and she did MBA? I can understand that, but how do you learn that? Like, how do you upskill yourself to become capable and competent to even apply for those kind of roles?
I think it's a very complex question, but if I had to, as I said, I was not very strong in technical finance, but maybe to some extent I could tell a story, but but it was curiosity. Maybe I think it is. I think I find less curiosity among many finance professionals. They don't ask why, and they said, okay, a lot of thing is given, and I think that ability to understand a business and asking questions unless you really are satisfied by the nth answer, that really is investing is about, where you're if it's a VC, it is even more tougher because you're not relying on data. It's a lot about intuition, a lot about future understanding, and unless you're convinced about a certain future trend which is not backed by data, it is about asking why this product is likely to become large. It's a lot about curiosity, and the more curious I find young people who are like kids who are in the not even we get a lot of interns which are not even undergrads who are going to Harvard or Yale and some of those colleges. I think the big difference is, which I find, is amazing amount of curiosity and their audacity to say, okay, I don't know, I don't understand why you guys make this investment because it doesn't make sense to me. And I see more you grow, and some of our very senior investment professionals who are principals and VPs, they are very worried, saying, okay, if I ask this question, how will I be viewed? How will I be treated? Is this a dumb question? Is it the right question? I think that's really the difference I see between being more audacious.
Thank you so much.
Dipanjan. I think, yeah, thank you. Good questions. I think we're going to finish the session. I think what Sriram said, a movie is a blockbuster which has a good story. So that's the takeaway. You have to have good storytelling. Skills are important, degrees are not important. Okay, and with that, we shall end the session. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you for being open and honest about these conversations. Chantal, I know we missed out on Data Chance, but Ashposh? Yeah, I think please do see him. I think he's got a brochure here, he's got a standee here. Do check out, and I think there's tea and coffee over there. Thank you.
Thanks, Karan.
No, अभी
Just 5 minutes.
Hi.
Yeah. Just.
I think we wanted to do more of a Q&A.
Okay, so I'll ask him questions of what he's doing. Okay. So Ashutosh, what do you do at Data Channel?
I'll explain a little bit of my background first. So, I'm a chartered accountant. Started as a banker, worked with Morgan Stanley, their M&A advisory side of the team. From there, got into IDFC again, similar investing, project finance side of the work. And about 5 years into MNC and similar type of an environment, there was always an urge to do something on my own, and that's where I actually left that part of the career and started on my own. What did I do? We actually advised quite a lot of businesses get their business plans right, get their investor decks for pitching to investors, and Excel has always been kind of a strong suit. So that entire 4 or 5 year time frame between about 2010 to 2015 allowed us to probably work with 300 businesses across industries, and looking at them more from a strategic point of view. What investors would look into your business, what are the operational drivers of businesses, etc. um, Quite a lot of tech part was kind of taking over in a lot of businesses. So we worked with ed tech, health tech, hospitality tech, travel tech, and so on. And that's where the tech bug naturally kind of bit me. That's where we started also the management reporting practice, where the seeds of data champs were sown about 8 9 years ago. And here we are. So over the last 8 years, translated from an Excel based MIS reporting company into a full fledged data analytics company. We deliver dashboards primarily for either fast growing, mid sized type of companies. Sometimes some of them are funded startups. And in certain cases, also large MNCs get their reporting right. So that's our typically first offering. And as we do that, there are two questions to be answered. One is, what do I need to do to get these dashboards probably getting updated automatically? Or you're delivering me a dashboard, but can I get a daily sales report, for example, automatically from my connected sources? Or besides just the ERP, can I connect more sources to this dashboard? So that's what we do on the digital transformation side, connecting multiple sources of data, parsing through various sources, and building a cross-functional KPI-based dashboard on a real-time basis. And then in the second part of the story, which is what do I do now? I mean, you have built a dashboard. What can actually drive insights out of these dashboards? So that's where we do the second bit of the story, that is generating trends, outliers, exceptions out of these dashboards, and again delivering them on the go. So distributing the dashboard to the various stakeholders in the company. For example, four sets of regional managers who need to see only their side of the data based on a single report that has been already implemented. And at the same time, maybe decision makers like a CEO or maybe a chief sales officer get exceptions, like which customers are not doing well, which product, negative news first, right? Like which products are not doing well, where do they need to focus their attention on? So those are the aspects on exceptions generated from these dashboards. uh, One of the key things I would like to highlight upon here is, and this is actually borrowing from the discussion that the panel actually had. I think understanding of the business actually has played a key role for us in acquiring our customers over a period of time. And over there, definitely my background as a chartered accountant has helped a lot, because as articles we have worked in audit and you understand processes very well, which has translated into defining automation which is aligned to the existing processes of the business. The second part, of course, understanding business and accordingly defining the KPIs as a part of these dashboards. And that's where probably we have scored a tad better than a typical IT company coming up and setting up these dashboards for some of our clients. So I would say, the understanding of the business, um, coming from a finance background, is one of the USPs that we still carry into data champs as a company. And that allows us to deliver our solutions quite faster. Um, the second part, which I again kind of borrowing from here, I think about quite a lot of people, who are making or probably deciding about your choices. I would say, I would urge you, kind of take that leap of faith. If you are a part of an MNC, and you really want to make a decision about probably creating a virtual CFO startup of your own, or probably working as a part-time CFO on your own, maybe um, one of the things that you actually carry from your background is you have worked in an environment where processes are followed to the T, and that has allowed these companies to scale. And on the other side, it's a startup founder. Besides funding, what they need is understanding of these processes and how they can be implemented for them to actually find their scale. So there will always be some gaps that you will have to build on, and which you will build over a period of time as you be in that process. But there are quite a few things that you actually carry from your background, which you can give to the entrepreneurs who are looking out for that, right? So that's one part. uh, Same part probably being applied to us. We are looking for people from the finance background and looking for again a leap of faith on the tech side. We do train our teams, on tools like Power BI, Tableau, and quite a lot of visualization tools, including Python on the data transformation side. So, definitely looking for some more interested kind of candidates to come and join us and help, you know, help build an impact from a finance professional's perspective onto the disruption that is going on into the overall finance field. So I'll kind of stop here. Your high tea is actually waiting for you. But at the same time, happy to have a more deeper conversation about the product that we have or about the solutions that we are building. Thanks a lot.
Guys, we also have Amar from Rika. He's there. You all can talk to him later on, okay? Thank you, everyone.